Welcome to Boring Money, Rich Life. I'm your host, Joy Hicks, and today we're going to talk about income. Income can kind of be divided into two ideas. So, on one hand, we have the way that we make money, and then on the other, we have the way that we spend money. So, I've been telling you guys that currently, I am really learning about millionaires. And I'm not talking about like the pro athletes and things like that, like regular people who didn't come from a lot of money and who were able to kind of build up like a net worth of $1 million or more. And I've been sharing this with you guys that this is like my newfound hobby because I definitely want to understand how people are really buying assets, like how they're doing it. So, one thing that I was reading was kind of talking about a lot of people are really good at making money, but are horrible at protecting their money. So, the way that we make money, going to school, getting a nice education, graduating and getting a good job, going to our boss for a promotion at the end of the year, or even doing side hustles and things like that, or building businesses. So that is considered to be offense. And a lot of people in America are really good at offense. Like in recent years, making six figures was kind of like a trendy thing, almost an expected thing. Now we know like the average salary in America is not six figures, but it was kind of like, this wave of, hey, if you're not making six figures, then you're not making it, right? And so a lot of people in America are really good with making money. And that's not necessarily like where they struggle. They might even have to work like two and three jobs at times, but a lot of people in America are really good at making these high incomes, right? But I think where a lot of us struggle is on the defense. So we make these high incomes, and then as soon as our income rises, so does our expenses. And so when you used to be able to kind of make do with $40,000 a year, now you're making $120,000 and you're still living paycheck to paycheck. And so I think that's really the reason why most people in America are not millionaires. Because again, there's a lot of people who are really good at the offense side of it and they're great at making money, but they're horrible at the defense side and spend almost all of their money. And the crazy thing about it is we don't just spend our money, we spend money that we don't even have yet. So that is the idea of credit. Credit is debt, which is when you're buying things that you can't afford. And then when it's time to pay those things off, you don't have the money because you didn't have the money in the first place. And so you end up in this kind of like rat race. So I definitely wanted to talk about that today because I just feel like a lot of us really are not bad with the offense. Like, I think the one thing that's really good about this day and age is that since we are in such a huge technology age, we have access to so much information. Previously, it was kind of like cliche or even rude to talk about how much money somebody else was making. You didn't ask your coworker what they made, you didn't ask them about their raise. It was really like offensive to do that. And nowadays, you'll go on LinkedIn and you'll see at least what the range of the job is. Like when I was job hunting, I didn't even really apply to jobs that did not show a range. And then because I lived in the state of Colorado, I had, kind of like the Job Transparency Act on my side. So I was like, hey, I do want to know what this job is kind of paying. And so that's a whole new concept that is very recent. But I will say a lot of us have been able to kind of benefit from that because now we at least have an idea of how much we should be making for each role. Now, you might not know the exact dollar amount that your coworkers are making. There's still people who might be making more than you in the same position or less than you in the same position. But again, technology has allowed us to really like beef up the offense. And now we have a good idea of like what bonuses should be, what raises should be. And then another kind of like benefit to that is prior to the job market kind of having a huge hit, a lot of people were able to kind of go to other companies and give themselves a raise. So, prior other generations would stay with the same job for 20 plus years and hope for a pension. where our generation has been able to kind of like get the skills that they need at one job, build up a good network of people, and then go to another company and give themselves a raise. And so that's why I think the offense side, a lot of people do not struggle with. Now, mind you, there are people in like customer service who might not be making a lot. And so if you are struggling on like the offensive side, you can always definitely look at like maybe going back to school or taking a boot camp or doing something to kind of like upskill, because it's going to be a lot easier to invest if you have discretionary income. So if your income is only like $30,000 a year and you really don't have a lot of money to invest, it is going to be challenging. Like you need money to be able to like buy real estate. You need money to be able to buy stocks. You need money to be able, to open a business. So if you are having a challenge like making money, again, the great thing about now is we have technology. So you can really learn a lot of things a lot quicker than you would have been able to in the past. Like in the past, you would have definitely had to get a 4-year degree. Nowadays, you can get a certification, you can take a boot camp, and sometimes people will just hire you if you just have the knowledge. Like if you market yourself on platforms like Fiverr or something like that. There's tons of ways to make extra money these days. So I would say that part isn't necessarily the hardest. It might just take some work. Now, with the defensive side, if your issue is you're just bad at spending money, that to me becomes a little bit harder, because I feel like you really have to retrain your brain, and not even just retraining your brain. You almost have to like redefine who you are, because I've shared in earlier videos, like in our economy, in our society, we are conditioned to spend, and we are conditioned that the nicer your shoes are, the nicer your bag is, the bigger your house is, you know, the more jewelry you wear, that means that you've made it. And so we've been kind of like conditioned to value people on how they look and what they drive versus really like character. Like there's a lot of people who are like jerks, right? But a lot of people like them because of the confidence that they exude, because of what they wear, what they drive, what they do for a living. Like a lot of times, even when you meet somebody for the first time, it's not like, tell me about yourself. It's like, what do you do? And that's because in our society, we really associate somebody's value with what they have. And so when you're trying to build wealth, you're going to be the odd one out. Like you really are, because most people, they want to, go out for drinks on the weekends, and they want to go out to eat, or they want to go to the club, and they want to do all these fun things. And all of those fun things take money. They require money. Like I went out this weekend on Friday and Saturday, and I had a great time. Like I hung out with my friends. But then when I realized like how much money that I spent, I was like, oh my gosh. And I will say, once you start getting serious about building wealth, and you start becoming more conscious of how much you're spending, it's like once you open the door, you can't close it. Because in the past, when I would go out, I would not even worry about it. I was like, okay, cool. Like, I know I have the money in my account. I'm going to spend it and I'm going to have a good time. Now, when I spend it, I'm like, dang, I really could have saved that money. Like, oh, I could have ate at home. I could have got one drink. And so it's challenging, because a lot of times when you're on a money journey, you're probably on it by yourself, because again, that's not really how our society encourages us to be. Our society really encourages us to spend and to buy more, and the more you make, the more you can get. So it's kind of like not a lonely path, but it definitely requires discipline, because again, not a lot of people think that way. And so if that is the case, like you'll probably need to surround yourself with people who kind of do think the same way. So that's something that I'll probably need to start doing. But it does become a challenge in the sense of like, yeah, I really have to buckle down. I really have to be more disciplined with the way that I spend my money. And right now is even more challenging because it's summertime. Like when it's winter and it's cold, I'm great at saving money because I don't like the cold. And, I'm in the house. I'm good. I have everything that I need here. But in the summertime, you want to enjoy, like it's warm outside. Yeah, I'm meeting new people, like you want to have fun. But it definitely does take away your seed. The one thing that I'm learning is money is a tool, it's a seed for you to put it somewhere so that it can grow. And I'm really learning the fact that, like, anytime that you put your money somewhere, you're putting it into a business. Now, you might be giving money to Chick-fil-A's business, you might be giving money to Sephora's business, you might be giving money to a gym business or whatever. But anytime that you spend your money, you are building up somebody else's business. And so I do remember the term, like, mind your business. It was never intended to be an insult. It was actually meant to kind of remind us to, like, focus on what it is that we're building. And me personally, like, I have to kind of look at myself as a business. Like, everything that I'm doing is for the advancement of myself and my family. And so it's like, do I want to kind of build their business, or do I want to build my own and kind of plant seeds in what it is that I'm working towards? So, like I said, the reason why I think offense is a little bit easier is because you could honestly do like gig work, you could babysit, you could go to school, you could get a boot camp. Like, there's so many ways to make more money. There's so many avenues that kind of like support us making more. The issue is the fact that we get marketed to so much that as soon as we make it, it goes right back into the economy. So I definitely need to get better with my defense. I'm definitely putting money away to save and invest each month. So it's not that like I'm not investing or anything like that. It's just the fact that I still want to kind of cut back on spending, because the less that I spend, the more that I can save and the more that I can invest. And I want to kind of reach my goals a little bit faster. So yeah, I feel like we're all learning, we're all growing. But I did want to talk about that today because, again, the goal is that we protect our money and protect our seed. So, whether or not you have to work on your offense with making more, or you have to work on your defense with kind of protecting your money and not just giving your money away to all of these other businesses. I just wanted to kind of like remind us about that so we can definitely be a little bit more disciplined. So, as always, what is one boring thing that you can do today to start fueling your rich life? Again, I'm Joy Hicks, your host. Thank you for watching, and be sure to like and subscribe.